You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, where we're getting on to our preview of the T20 World Cup group stage. We're going to start with Group A because A becomes before B.
Well, that's just solid.
Sure. A becomes before B.
And, that famous Bewitched song.
And B comes before A. No, after. Who knows?
Yes. Before we do, just going to point you in the direction of our Patreon, which you can find in the show notes. We have a new format out. For £4 a month, you get access to bonus content. From a little bit more, you get to get involved in the production of that bonus content. And from a little bit more, you get to be on that bonus content. It's good. And there's like a Discord and some like extra stuff.
I'm looking forward to having Patreons on the show. I think that'd be a good mix up.
Overdue. Anyway, we're going to do Group A first. And we're going to start with the UAE. The format for this, we're going to talk about the team. We're going to talk about the road to the World Cup. We're going to talk about the best players. We're going to talk about their chances. We're going to talk about their pedigree. We're going to talk about the kit. We're going to talk about squad news. But what I'm most excited about is talking about the famous person that best represents the team. Group A contains Netherlands, Sri Lanka, Namibia, and UAE. We're going to start with the UAE. United Arab Emirates. You know, that's what it stood for?
Yep. Yeah. I've been there a few times, yeah.
We're going to kick straight off with the famous person that best represents the side. Because that's
straight in.
That's the good thing. And I came up with this idea. And then Ross allocated UAE, which some people would argue is fair. It's a tricky one. I'm not going to lie, because there's some cultural differences. I mainly know the UAE for being the nation which stands in to host the IPL sometimes, or the World Cup last year. I don't really know that much about the place. It's got Dubai, it's got a big tower, it's got some oil. Beneath that, though, as I found out today in my research, there's a thriving literary scene. Do you know that?
No, I didn't.
Well, now you do.
Yeah.
There's traditional dance, and as lovers of kebabs, this is important for us. Us three, as lovers of kebabs, the shawarma is apparently excellent. It's a top shawarma location. Anyway, my famous person to represent this team is Ahmed Ibn Majid, the Prince of the Seas. That's a moniker in half, isn't it? From the 15th century. I had to go back a little while to get someone here. Ibn Majid, he was a legendary seafarer who helped the Persian people reach India and East Africa, which is pretty good going back in the 15th century. I think he linked up with one of those Portuguese guys who went around the world, Magellan.
Yeah,
I think it might be Magellan. It was one of them. He wrote a number of books on navigation and seamanship, which is good. Very significant individual.
Yep.
Why is he the representation of this team? Because, like Ibn Majid, this UAE team are heading off into uncharted waters.
Very good. Nice.
Yeah. How did they get to the World Cup? They actually won their qualifying groups. There was 2 qualifying groups.
So they've got wind in their sails, have they?
They've got a little bit of wind in their sails. Yeah, they beat Ireland in the finals. So Ireland are a decent team. So they're not total mugs. Pedigree wise, it's only the second tournament they've reached. They didn't win a game in the last one. Probably fair to say there's no pedigree here. Hence why they'll be trying to win a game.
Mm-hmm.
Chart waters.
Yeah,
that's what they're aiming for.
Yeah.
Do you want to know if they're good at cricket?
Ideally, yeah.
Ideally. Well, they've got a couple of players. Mohammed Wasim on the batting side, average of 40, strike rate of 152. Got 70 odd against the West Indies the other day. Again, they're a team with some star power, aren't they? The West Indies. He got a ton in the final of the qualifier against Ireland.
Nice.
Which is that's a big player playing a big knock. They've got another good batter as well. They've got like a couple of other guys who I think can maybe bat, but there's one other player. I've got the stats for the last 2 years up. There's one other player who obviously can bat, Richia Aravind. He has scored 407 runs since the beginning of 2021, averaging 40, strike rate of 140. So between those two, they've got a little bit of pop with the bat. Bowling wise, not sure that they're going to be as good, and I suspect the conditions might play against them as well. A couple of players to look out for: Kartik Mayapan, 22-year-old leggy, averages 15, striking every 13 balls in the last 2 years. Never really know, I think, with associate leg spinners how they're going to translate, and we saw Mitch Swepson get destroyed, didn't we, by admittedly Joss Butler, who will not be in Group A. But it could go bad. And then Junaid Sadiq is the other bowler that they have, a medium quick. And yeah, that's what they've got. Chances, I think they're probably the worst team in the tournament.
Cannon fodder.
I don't know, maybe cannon fodder. And they did beat Ireland. They ran Bangladesh kind of close to the game recently. I think they lost by 7 runs last week. Or a couple of weeks ago. So they can play well. The other 2 matches against Bangladesh, they got smashed. Bookies have them at 2,000 to 1.
Short, isn't it?
Why? Why would you even bet?
which is look, Leicester did it, didn't they?
Leicester and UAE.
Kit. Let's finish off with Kit. It looks like they have basically found some old Rajasthan Royals kit and rebadged it with UAE stuff. It's a blue pink sunrise effect shirt.
Nice,
quite good. If you like Rajasthan Royals, you'll like that. Any questions on these boys?
No. Did we get any on Twitter from for the UAE?
We've got a load of questions about random stuff, and we'll do them later.
All right, that sounds good. Oh, it's a strong opener, Jack. Shall I take on Namibia next?
Yeah, let's go Namibia next.
All right, the Mighty Eagles, as they are known, or just known as the Eagles, like the band. And I'm going to go straight into
what they're named after?
The band.
Namibia.
Yeah.
No, Namibia.
And when it comes to famous people, I couldn't choose between 2. I'm going to admit my knowledge of famous Namibian people is not quite what I'd like it to be. However, I think the 2 options that I'm going to present to both of you, and you've got to choose which one, are both worthy contenders. One is Hendrik Witbooi, who is the first African leader and revolutionary to have taken up arms against the German imperialists, a national hero who is on the face of all of their money. And to me, what that says is that is something that you can bank on, and this team is full of people that you can bank on. To put in decent performances and to be the currency of conversation when they beat people. The other person is Shilo Novell Jolie Pitt.
Beautiful pronunciation of there, I imagine.
Probably,
Thank you. And she is the daughter of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. So what I like about this is that Namibia last year was their first World Cup. And it was a strong debut. And that's what I expect Shilo Novell would have put up the first time that they met, because they got selected. They've then consolidated their position, and hopefully they're going to perform well at this World Cup. So out of those 2, which one do you reckon best fits Namibia?
I'm going to go with the man on the money.
Yeah, I think it's 2 for Witbooi.
2 for Witbooi. That's what we like to hear.
Let's hear about the cricket team.
Yeah, well, I've got more information on Witbooi. He died in action in 1905. But let's continue. He did.
How did he die?
I'm going to move on from one captain to another. One captain to another.
What kind of action? Bowling action.
In action. He was doing nothing and he died.
Gerard Erasmus is the captain who does it all. Off breaks, he's solid in the middle order. He's part of the bomb squad. Jack?
Is his name Gerhard Erasmus?
It could well be. Gerhard Erasmus, Gerard Erasmus. Sorry.
that
German imperialism thing you were just talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Replace it with British imperialism.
British imperialism. So what we've got there is we've got the star players who is the left armour, brilliantly named Ruben Trumpelman, who many wanted to get an IPL gig, and also the evergreen David Visa, who's there to offer some firepower and some dad rock vibes, which is very important. And then you've also got what I really want to see in this team when it comes to David Weiser is the other part of the bomb squad, and that's JJ Smith. All these guys performed really well last year. They overperformed to get to the Super 12, which nobody was really expecting them to do. And they all put on some eye-catching displays. Chances wise, I think they need to get more out of their opening batsmen because they can't just rely on the bomb squad every single game. But bowling wise, they were tight. They knew how to play T20 cricket, and they fielded remarkably well for an associate nation. And their kit is also a gorgeous little number in black and blue. So yeah, any questions on Namibia?
How do you think they will do?
Yeah.
Somebody's at my door, so I'll have to come back.
How do you think they'll do, Jack?
I don't know. I was quite impressed with how good they were in the last World Cup. The question for them is whether, I mean, David Weiser basically single-handedly won them a couple of matches, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that's fine. That happens in T20 cricket. I guess the question that they'll need to answer probably from a developmental point of view anyway, is whether there are other players that can kind of come to the party, if you like. I do remember the opening batter situation being slightly ridiculous in that they were like sort of sending in random guys, some who had like basically got no history playing the game that you could find on the internet in as the opener. And then like that player would play 2 games, do nothing, get dropped, and they bring somebody else in. So do I think they can go through? Yeah, absolutely. They're in the easier group. UAE, Namibia, Netherlands, Sri Lanka. You'd expect Sri Lanka to sweep the floor with the rest of them.
Yeah.
Namibia v Netherlands, probably going to
probably
be
the
showdown.
decider, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Can they beat the Netherlands? Well, they did last time. I think at this level of cricket, Namibia v Netherlands is probably quite a good contest in that there are players in both sides who are on the circuit, as it were.
Yeah.
Getting gigs in different leagues and clearly up to international cricket, but also in both sides there are players
Bit of filler.
who have to be in the 11 because you need to field 11 men. But like, it isn't actually clear what they bring to the party. What do you reckon?
I think that's fair. I think they're very reliant on a few guys, aren't they? Really, which is basically the end of it. And if those guys perform in the important games, then they'll have a shot of getting through to the Super 12s. But I think in agreement really it's that showdown with the Netherlands that's all important.
Cool. Should we do Sri Lanka?
Yes, let's. Unless Ross has any final words on Namibia as he returns.
No, he ran away at our hour of need.
I think that's unfair, Jack.
Yeah.
I've just got something to deal with, so you guys crack on.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Right. Well, Sri Lanka then. You might have heard of them. They're a team that have played cricket before. We will. We'll start with the famous person, shall we? Because that's how we go. Right. So, who best represents Sri Lanka? Well, quite obviously, Jack, since Ross isn't here, it is none other than Professor Chandra Wickramasinghe, of course. He is a mathematician, astronomer, and astrobiologist, and one of the main proponents of the theory panspermia, which was first advanced in the 5th century BC by the Greek philosopher Anaxagoras. And it is the theory that life on Earth has extraterrestrial origins. Now,
excellent.
Yeah. The panspermia as a theory requires 3 things. Number 1, that organic molecules originated in space. Not necessarily mad. There is, it's possible. Number 2, that life originated from these molecules extraterrestrially. Okay. And 3, that this extraterrestrial life was then transported to Earth. The creation and distribution of organic molecules from space is not controversial, and that is known as pseudo-panspermia. But the thing that makes it unbelievable is the rest of it. The fact that it originated there and was transported there, and that was the whole start of it. The existence of extraterrestrial life, unconfirmed but scientifically possible. The transport of such life to Earth, considered pseudoscience. Yes, Jack.
Does this man think that the plot of Prometheus is real?
Potentially so. He believes a couple of other things as well.
Okay.
under the same umbrella. He believes that flu and polio came from space.
Here's a question. Why is he representative of the Sri Lankan cricket team?
We'll get there. The final point I wanted to make about this man is that he was the only scientist to argue for the defense, i.e. creationism, in the famous 1981 creation science case in Arkansas of a number of parents against the Education Board of Arkansas, where they argued that creationism should not be taught in science because it's not science. Why does this represent Sri Lanka? It's a good question. You're probably all wondering this. Jack just asked it. Well, clearly, this guy is mad as a box of frogs. Sri Lanka's approach to the selection of squads lately has been mad as a box of frogs. They've changed captains, they've banned people who are really good, all that stuff, but they just won the Asia Cup. And a couple of years ago, some scientists found that bacteria might be able to survive for 8 years in space. So maybe this crackpot approach to science will turn out to be just as effective as Sri Lanka's decisions around squad selection. So that is why I think this man
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, now I'm glad we've got to the bottom.
We've got there in the end. So as I said, Sri Lanka, they won the Asia Cup. How many games do you think they've played since the Asia Cup, Jack?
If I know Sri Lanka, the answer will be 0.
Correct. The answer is 0. So the only warm-ups they've got are against Ireland and Zimbabwe to get themselves ready before their first game in Namibia. The good news, I suppose, is that the squad is pretty much the same as the one that won the Asia Cup. But yeah, mad as a box of frogs. That's what it's all about. So, I mean, they were pretty good in the Asia Cup. We all saw that. Last year, they were also in the qualifiers, and we said they'd be naff and that they might actually struggle, which was going a bit far in the end because they had Kamira, who bowls quicker than anyone in the Associate Nations was really able to do, and Hasaranga bowled googlies, and no one was able to deal with those. So they smashed through it, and I think we were expecting them to romp through the easier group this time as well. So be prepared to watch them completely fuck it up, I guess.
I think I'm backing Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. Quite obviously, the star man is the man who's not even a household name in his own household, Wanindu Hasaranga, the IPL's second top wicket taker. But, you know, they've obviously got Kamira, like I said, who's pretty quick. And if we get some decent batting decks, I'm backing Rajapaksa to go quite big. You know, he strikes at 170 versus pace compared to sort of 130 against spin. So obviously a big favour of pace on the ball there, but that could be to his advantage in Australia. So I reckon he's got potentially a big tournament ahead of him. The bookies odds about 20-1 ish. So I think not beyond the realms of possibilities, but it is unlikely. But they're a decent side. They've got good players, and they're getting more fun to watch than they have been in the past. Final note, obviously their kit. It's interesting. It's like some sort of pale gradient flag design on the shirt. I quite like it. It's nice. It's worth looking. It's hard to describe. It's sort of yellow and blue and quite attractive. Classically Sri Lankan.
I think the Sri Lankan kit. I think might be the best kit. I think they might be winning kit wars.
Yeah.
So far. Anyway. I don't really have any questions. I think that.
I mean, they're kind of a known entity to a degree.
Yeah, I think Sri Lanka are a relatively known entity. I think they're probably a team that are peaking at the right time. I think they need a bit of luck, quite a lot of luck, probably, to repeat what they did in the Asia Cup. But I think they'll cruise through this group, and I think they'll have a chance in the next round as well.
Yeah.
I think they're comfortably better than some of the teams that are already in the Super 10. Or is it Super 10 or is it 12?
Super 12.
It used to be Super 10.
Yeah.
It's Super 10 at the moment. No, it's Super 8
at the moment, and then two go through from each group. So.
Cricket is so stupid, isn't it?
They change it every year. They change it every year.
It is ridiculous that this qualification stage happens before like all of the good teams at the World Cup turn up. No disrespect to them, but like it's the first game with actual jeopardy in terms of who could win the tournament happens a week after the first game in the tournament, which is Cricket, that's cricket, baby. That is.
I quite enjoyed the sort of warm-ups last time around.
I did. I enjoy it
from a weird cricket nerd point of view, rather than any like normal enjoyment of sport.
Yeah, I just think there's got to be a better format.
Yeah.
Groups of 4 or something like that. Have like the Netherlands and Namibia in a group with Sri Lanka and England. Like, and if one of them gets a result against Sri Lanka, they might get through. Or get a result against England for that matter. Happens. And speaking of teams that get results against England, Netherlands round out Group A. Famous person, Max. I'm going with Rutger Hauer. Do you know who? Do you know who that is?
No, I can't say I do, Jack.
So Rutger Hauer is a movie star. Not, I think a star. Perhaps not Brad Pitt.
B list, C list.
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure how the list system works. He's not Brad Pitt, I can tell you that for sure.
Right.
But he's also not like whoever plays Barry on EastEnders. You know, bigger than that.
Yeah.
Bigger than that.
Bigger than Barry.
But not as big as Brad Pitt.
Barry's pretty big.
Anyway, the reason I've gone with Rutger Hauer here, he's in a lot of stuff. He's pretty recognisable, just like the Netherlands. They're in a lot of World Cups. They wear orange. They're very recognisable. However, they're not necessarily the main event in anything they're in, are they? Like it's Netherlands are always there, been in the last 4 World Cups, but nobody. Yeah, they're a little bit. You sort of shrug your shoulders a little bit. That's kind of like Rutger Hauer. The other similarity that they have is that they both have epic moments in their respective field.
Right.
Now, Rutger Hauer is famous from this is the reason he's famous, is from the film Blade Runner, and he gives the Tears in Rain speech in Blade Runner. Have you seen Blade Runner?
I have. Good film.
Ross, have you seen Blade Runner?
Nope.
Well, you should watch it. It is an excellent film. Rutger Hauer he's the one who is Rick, not Rick, the other guy. Roy, that's it. He's Roy in Blade Runner. Gives that speech. The cricketing equivalent, obviously, of that speech is the Netherlands winning at Lord's, and for that reason, Rutger Hauer represents perfectly this team. Both of them have epic moments in the fabric of their relative cultures.
Very nice.
Road to the UAE. They made it to the tournament as runners-up in Global Qualifier B, losing to Zimbabwe in the final. They're not a team of mugs. They've got some players. Tom Cooper with the bat, averaging 38 at 164 since 2021. He's probably the standout. My take is that they might be a bit shallow here. I think he catches your eye. And then Max O'Dowd's got some runs, albeit not that quickly. And Baz the leader's sort of fine, but you're not really wowed by it. On the other hand, I think their bowling might be quite good in these conditions. They've got a few actually reasonably quick bowlers. We saw Fred Clarkson doing his stuff for the Manchester Originals, as an example, left arm. Also born in Haywards Heath, Ross. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that, no.
Yeah,
welcome back.
Where I went to school.
Yeah. And they've got sort of a battery of other guys as well. The leader again with the ball, Logan van Beek, people that you might have heard of if you follow English cricket, and players that are on that kind of circuit below the circuit. Get some game time in the Canada Pro League or whatever that's called. So a bit there to work with, I think. Pedigree, as I said, they've been in the World Cup for the last 4 times. They've beaten England twice. That's some decent pedigree. They've made it to the Super 10. They're not rubbish. They have got a history of being pretty decent. Having said that, the chances of winning this World Cup are pretty slim. They're at 1,000 to 1 long shot. Last
if you run this World Cup 1,000 times, do you think Netherlands will win it ever?
No, I mean, but that's how bookmakers work.
I know, but how many times would you have to run it realistically for them to? I mean, I think you're looking at 10 at least.
Yeah, but I'd probably ballpark. In the last World Cup, they had a chance, and then they got David Wiesert. If in that crucial match against Namibia, if they can win there, I think they'll probably have enough for the UAE, and they might go through. Kit is orange. Believe it or not.
No.
Yeah. That's the end of Group B. End of Group A. Should we take a break and then come back with what did I say?
The other group.
Group A becomes before B.
Yes.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.